P&O Cruises approached us back in 2019 to create a new production for the two new ships that were joining their fleet, the Pacific Encounter and the Pacific Adventure. After the great success we had with rock anthems of the ages on the Explorer in 2017, they loved the idea of producing another show that celebrated really great music. William Forsythe staged rock anthems for us, and for me he was the obvious choice to work as a creative on this show. Phillip Filo had also been a great show collaborator, and this show seemed right up his alley. My original concept for the show was all about exploring the best recording studios around the world.
And the impact those recording studios had on music over the last 5-6 decades.
But the more we discussed it, the more it seemed that the recording studio idea may prove a little too limited, and then through more creative discussion, we ended up settling with a concept that was more driven by the music and the genre.
What really excited me about working on this show was the music we were going to get to play with. We were covering really iconic artists, iconic musical moments. It was just going to be a delight to produce.
Once we started settling into the idea and the concept for the production, the potential song list for the show grew even more. But through that process, there was one specific rule that we developed.
That if the three of us didn't know the song, then it doesn't go in because someone in our audience won't know it.
Apart from choosing the songs, the most important part of the show's identity in the end was choosing the genres of music.
Finding the genres in the show is always the tricky part of the show. And it does come organically, and in the end it is very easy, but we probably start with way too many genres. And then we work out, like building blocks, what sits better to make the show grow and have an arc in it. We knew we wanted icons and legends in the show. It couldn't just be a current song or a song that was popular as a one-hit wonder.
We wanted the show to be full of iconic musical moments from artists who may have had a real emotional impact on people throughout their lives over, the previous decades.
Well, Phillip always does a sensational job putting the music together, but I think my favourite part of the soundtrack process is the recording sessions. We used Studio 301 in Sydney again, and we put down all the vocals and the backing vocal mixes there, as well as the great choir for the Icon section and the Motown section. What's wonderful about the recording process is that it's the first time we get to hear the show come to life, and that's such a cool moment for everyone. I don't need to underline how hard the pandemic was for everybody. We were tracking so well with the development of this show, and then bam.
To see our whole industry, as well as every other industry, shut down, it was pretty devastating.
It was weird because we were so far along.
We had spent months developing this show on paper. The pandemic hit pretty much 1 week after I delivered the finished soundtrack.
We had just started building. I think we'd done most of the Gaga section, and then it all just stopped. So then we were half underway, and then because it stopped and nobody knew what was going on, it was a thing, well, do we keep going in the hope that ships do come back?
And in the end, the show did sit on a shelf for quite a while, over 2 years in fact. The cruise industry in Australia took so long to restart that it wasn't until May 2022 when the first ship for P&O set sail again.
I spent 2 years really trying not to think about the fact that this show might not ever see the light of day.
The wonderful thing was that when we got the green light for the recommencement of cruising in Australia, we also got the green light to continue with musicology, including doing a workshop of the show on the Gold Coast.
The workshop was what Grayboy needed.
Because it was really great knowing that it was going to be launched on 2 brand new ships, and we hadn't touched it for 2 years. It was actually great to get in the room and get reacquainted with the show slowly for myself.
It gave us the direction, it gave us where we needed to go with this show. We knew what worked and what didn't.
It was an amazing experience.
And we had a phenomenal cast of dancers and singers. To see the heads of P&O and heads of entertainment go crazy for it. And again, it pushed us on to go, wait till we get to the real cast with the real set and the real costumes. It just really, after a 2-year hiatus, gave everyone the biggest slap on the back to go, this is good, let's make it phenomenal.
Designing the sets for Musicology was a really interesting process, as this was the first time we'd used rig lines for hanging sets. We had hydraulic floors to raise the set pieces up from underneath the stage, and Serapin tracks to track the sets off and on. It was definitely a wonderful step up from the previous builds we'd done for P&O, and an exciting addition to their stages. It meant we could get really creative and luxe with some of the looks for this show in ways we'd never done before. And it was also a great show to incorporate a lot of different visual styles. An incredible team at Form Imagination took my set designs and turned them into the most incredible working scenic pieces. They did such an amazing job. We were just blown away by how beautifully they were built and how great they looked in the show.
I went in, we talked through the show, and then I think leave him to do what he does. And what I love about doing that, and I've learned this over the years on every job, if you leave an expert to do what you want, they will hear you. You will see your vision 20 times better than what you thought. And what walked back into the room was 20 times better than anything I could dream of.
From the start of the show, it's kind of light with mirrors. And then I progressed the mirrors into the next section. So then the Gaga section goes mirrors with white. And then the next section goes, okay, white with colour when it goes into disco, which still has mirrors in it. And then you take that idea. So I'm still trying to make them all link, but again, just in a different style. The Tina Turner dresses, because normally they're done in fringe as opposed to like this. I've got this kind of sequin trim that I got from New York. So each fringe layer is 4 layers deep. So each dress has at least 30 yards of fringing. There's over 2,000 mirrors on just the disco set alone. Well, the only thing that was new that was used for the show than we normally is the visors. And the people that actually made Daft Punk's light-ups are the ones that made these ones. So that tech element is all new to the show. The finale set was definitely a new fabric that it literally only came into Australia maybe about 2 months before I actually bought it all. So I literally bought all 3 rolls, so that was a 120 metre roll of fabric, and that's that whole section. So that was a new fabric because it's just PVC, but it looks like leather.
It was incredible working with William. He's such an amazing choreographer.
Having the opportunity to be in a room learning a new show with his choreography was pretty amazing.
To get in the room with what Amanda and Scott gave me to work with was incredible, and I felt from day one, hearing the singers work with Phillip and hearing it sung, I'm like, fantastic. I can't wait to get my hands on those people. And the dancers of both casts really gave like 100%.
Because the show was so ready, and then we did the workshop, that first cast, I think they had the best experience because we all knew where this show needed to go. So there was no surprises for anybody.
We were excited to be getting this show off the ground, but to also have this material being sung by and really loved by this fresh young cast, many of whom who'd just graduated from college. It was a really good barometer to how impactful this show was going to be.
I think the biggest challenge was, one, to keep going all the time and perform as well and do every step.
You think you're giving 100%, but William's 100% is probably like your 50, so you have to go above and beyond always. Honestly, to have a choreographer that you respect so much, and then once you kind of meet him and he starts and you get into the process, he really gets the best out of you as a dancer.
I get to look after the designing of the LED screens and the sets, and unlike other shows, we thought it was important the screens should be more like moving backdrops for the cast and for the band. The idea was not to overshadow the great work that was happening on stage, but instead enhance it visually.
We work so well together, we understand each other, and again we have the same vision. His screen work takes the show to an amazing level.
The screens are the last element we get to see, and he never disappoints.
I think one of my favourite moments was filming the green screen choir and then putting them into the show. It definitely creates a wow moment the audience has never experienced before. It was such a mighty effort bumping in this show with flying rigs and hydraulic lifts, the Sarah tracks in the floor. There was so much to juggle.
You worry, will the set fit? Will it work? Will the cables line up with when the ship arrives from a different country? Will the costumes even fit backstage? Have we gone too big? There are a million challenges and a million things do go wrong. And that is to be expected. So you've got to go in knowing it's not going to go smoothly.
At one moment, the crew and our production team were all hanging sets, or we're working on electrics, or we're problem solving a set change, and all the while trying to get things to work seamlessly.
By everyone doing their job so well, things did move quickly and things were solved quickly.
I don't think anything could have prepared you for what it's like when you see it all come together and how big it is and how it's loads of cogs all working together.
I had always imagined what the band would sound like with this show, and it wasn't until we actually had them on that stage, mic'd up and playing the material, that I truly got a sense of how amazing this show was going to be.
My favourite part is always when you put the costumes on and you've got the costumes and the lights on and everything starts to fall into place like little Tetris blocks. We are such a small piece of a massive puzzle, and any of those pieces goes missing and it's not the same show.
I think the lighting is stellar on this show. Matt Township has done a fantastic job.
He delivered in such a major way.
What I love about Matt, he brings incredible creativity that focuses the show to where you want to look. Besides taking the show to a new level, it gives it incredible focus and makes my work look brilliant. The best way I can describe the show as a whole is a real feast. It's a real feast for the eyes.
I get excited by watching them because it's such an achievement and it's such a process to get it there.
So then it all comes together and you go, wow, between the team, you know, everyone's tried to pull out their A game.
That adrenaline of getting to perform it for a group of people that have never ever seen this show. It's the first time it's going to be performed and you're in the first cast that is going to perform that show.
And the curtain opens and the girls come on and they do their kick and you watch them give it for that first count of 8 and you're like, okay, it's time. So you see them and they're ready to go, and then as the boys come on, we're like, let's do it. So we all just high five and then we just go full power, and it was just electric. It was awesome.
I don't think I've ever been more proud of a show as I am with Musicology.
Biggest privilege to be involved in it for me personally.
I think from the music to the sets to the screens to the choreography to everything, the costumes, it's breathtaking.
It's such a spectacular wow factor of all those different elements that keep coming in.
We set out with a great vision for this show, and absolutely everyone involved made sure that that vision came to life.
Final thoughts for the audience: sit back, enjoy it, and make a lot of noise. You're allowed to be loud.